Stop. If you know what the rose is, this is for you. And if you don't, listen closer. Meet Lem by Hello Nancy. Yes, it looks like a lemon, but it's anything but innocent. Every 25 seconds, someone discovers Lem. With 500,000 customers and a 4.7 star rating, women say it's toe-curling and mind-blowing. It's whisper quiet and completely discreet, so no one hears a thing and no one knows what it is. Go to HelloNancy.com for 50% off this Valentine's Day. Once you try it, you'll understand.
Work moves fast. Every email, report, and proposal counts. That's where Grammarly comes in. It's your one place to think, write, and finish. Grammarly's AI agents help you find natural phrasing, fine-tune tone, and confidently write wherever you work. It's the premier writing tool that 93% of users trust to get more work done. In a world of generic AI, don't sound like everyone else. With Grammarly, you never will. Download Grammarly for free at Grammarly.com.
Hey, it's Jeff Zito, and thanks for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. Follow on Instagram, celebrity_jobber_podcast. You can also go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/the@celebrityjobber. Got a ton of videos and clips of the podcast up on the YouTube channel, so definitely check that out. We're streaming everywhere you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, we're on all of them. So if you like the show, please subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating, and please leave a review. You can also check out past guests and episodes online at celebrityjobber.com. So, people weren't born in fame. I guess some were. We talked to a few. But most people, were regular, everyday working stiffs. 9-to-5ers. My guest today from Alabama, which is not the stand-up comedy mecca, okay? Got to be very difficult to get discovered when you're from Alabama. Derrick Stroup is his name. He has a comedy special out right now on Netflix. It's called Nostalgia. The guy is blowing up. He came out of nowhere. He was playing comedy clubs, and now tickets just went on sale for his theater tour. So you're going to want to go to the website, DerrickStroup.com. That's DerrickStroup.com. DerrickStroup.com. How did this happen? Was there a moment that changed his life? Actually, I'm going to say there is a moment, I believe, but it's not what you would think. It's a very interesting story. What would have become of Derrick if not for stand-up comedy? Talk a little bit about his family in Alabama and growing up, his first jobs, and so much more. Very funny comedian by the name of Derrick Stroup is my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Hey, Derrick, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I understand you're from Birmingham.
No, Harvest, Alabama, right outside of Huntsville.
Oh, okay.
I shot my special in Birmingham.
Gotcha, because I know a little something about Alabama. My son went to school in Alabama, so I thought maybe if you were from Birmingham, we could start talking about some local watering holes. But that I screwed that one all up, huh?
No, I mean I know Birmingham pretty well. I went to Jacksonville State University, which is about an hour outside of Birmingham. What school did your son go to? Did he go to UAB? Stanford?
No, he went to that school that closed down and then went on to appear in the College World Series, Birmingham Southern, if you remember that story.
Southern, yeah, I do. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So I guess
Birmingham Southern.
So I guess before you, my son's story was maybe the most famous story out of the area. Now here comes you. You've taken over, and it's kind of funny because I would imagine not a lot of people get discovered in Alabama.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. That's why I moved, brother. Yeah, it's
got right the hell out of there, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I love the place, but that's not where you get found for comedy. I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, I didn't I didn't dream of comedy growing up. It wasn't even on my radar. I mean, so yeah, I moved to Denver and lived there for 10 years, and now I live in New York City.
Wow. So tell me, you said you didn't dream of comedy when you were growing. It didn't even enter your mind. What did enter your mind when you were a young guy? What did you think you were going to do in Alabama growing up as an adult?
Well, I mean, I was like a lot of kids. I mean, I just dreamed of, I wanted to play some type of sport, I always just dreamed huge. Just like the biggest dream. I mean, my mother still has notebooks of mine in the attic where I just signed my autograph all day long in cursive. Derrick Stroup, Derrick Stroup, Derrick Stroup. And at the time, I thought it was baseball, and then I thought it was football, and it was all these. I was always a dreamer in that regard. But when you grow up in Harvest, Alabama, I mean, being a stand-up comedian, I didn't even know. You can't even wrap your head around how you could even get into that process.
Right.
So, that makes it even more of a surreal ride.
So what about when you were in college, Derrick, when you were at, was it Jacksonville State University? What were you,
That's right.
What was your major? What were you thinking of becoming when you got out of school?
I had a few different ideas. I wanted to get into radio. I was a communications major, for some of my college, and I ended up being a recreation major, which was fantastic because I was like taking dodgeball and canoeing as electives. I really, this all kind of feels like, divine fate in some ways, like I was stalling. I didn't really have a plan. I just knew that I was constantly knowing that I did not want to do something small. I could have been a coach or other things, which I think have huge impacts on people's lives, but I wanted to be bigger and, and I never knew what it was. And it's crazy that I ran into comedy. I mean, the true story is I got 2 DUIs, which I talk about on stage in a very viral bit that I have 15 years ago. And that changed my life. And then that's kind of how I got into comedy. And, if I don't get those DUIs, I never get into comedy. It's a wild ride from there. So it just felt like, after that, I started chasing this because I felt like there was nothing left.
Wow.
Celebrity Jobber.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes, and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
Tell me a little bit about your very first job. Can you tell me, were you in high school? How old were you? What was your very first job? And then maybe tell me a job that you had prior to becoming a stand-up.
My very first job was I worked at Babies R Us.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a true story, man. I'm going to tell you, I'm the oldest of 3. And my mother convinced me. She said the only place that was hiring was Babies R Us. So I went and got a job at Babies R Us. Little did I know, my mother wanted my discount, my employee discount, which I got 20% off. So then, this is true, man. I became like a Similac mule. And so now I'm just, taking orders of hers and, buying all this. I use my employee discount on car seats. Strollers. Everything you can think of. And yeah, it was wild. I worked in the breast pump section. I was 16 years old, man. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. I was like the Cowardly Lion trying to talk to these women about breast pumps. I was struggling. You look back, 17 years old, I was doing car seat demonstrations in the parking lot, and it's just insane. But that was my first job. And then when I was like really chasing comedy as an adult, I was a retail manager because that was the only job where they would like let me get away with kind of doing what I wanted with my schedule. But I was a good retail manager. I enjoyed it. I did it for Sports Authority, and then I was at Big Lots. I was at Big Lots for about 5 years.
Okay.
which was tougher than Sports Authority. Big Lots was
Big Lots.
Sometimes I feel like I should get a veteran's discount for working there. Yeah.
So Derrick, here, I mean, this is a pretty amazing story. Tell me about, I mean, and by the way, on Netflix right now, just debuted a few days ago, Nostalgic is the comedy special, Derrick Stroup on Netflix right now. He's doing a theater tour. Tickets go on sale this Friday. Was there were you doing local stand-up and like something happened to really propel your career forward, like a big break, if you will? Can you tell me that story?
I don't have, it's a series of capitalizing on opportunities.
Right.
Would be more of, I've definitely had some breaks, but I've also knocked down every chance I've had, which I'm proud of that. It takes, for me, I'm proud that I came up the old fashioned way, and it doesn't get to happen this way, but I started out opening for a lot of big names, a lot of great comedians. Josh Blue took me out on the road first and early in my career. And just a couple years into comedy, he was taking me out. And then I opened for Michael Yo, Larry the Cable Guy, John Crist, John Crist for 4 or 5 years. And those lead to so many opportunities, because you get in front of management and a bunch of big theaters. And as long as you're funny, consistently, and particularly in those big moments, it pays off. So there wasn't one particular moment. There was just a bunch of moments that, I capitalized on.
And your comedy special, Nostalgic, dives into the time of being a 90s kid growing up in rural Alabama. Is there some way the rest of the country can relate to growing up in rural Alabama during the 90s? What was it different for you than a lot of others?
No, it was, come to find out, you do this hour nationwide, and it's like the relatability is unbelievable. We were all playing the same games, doing the same things. It's just some people's backdrop was a cow pasture and a creek, and some people's backdrop, was an apartment building and a library. Still doing the same titty twisters, still playing the same Red Rover, still having the same experiences. And that's what was really fun. Something I didn't know before I wrote this hour was how many people I was going to reach. I write it from a 90s kid's point of view, and I go, man, I hope I don't box myself in with this. No, the opposite. Everybody was like, no, we were playing those games. We invented those games. We were doing them before you. And, it created, in the room, it creates this kind of, morale, like everybody's kind of remembering together and laughing and pointing. And, I kind of make fun of people. They're like, somebody in the crowd, I'll do some interactions. They'll bring up Kick the Can. And we'll kind of laugh about how that, people under 70 haven't been bored enough to ever play Kick the Can. And so, it's really fun. It brings everybody together. And it did that a lot more than I ever expected. I got lucky in that regard.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. DerrickStroup.com. That's DerrickStroup.com. List of all his comedy dates. On a theater tour, which starts pretty soon. You are going to be appearing in the upcoming Nate Bargatze film, The Breadwinner. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Very nice of Nate to give me a role in that. I got 5 or 6 lines. I'm a overbearing car salesman, so I barely even had to act. Very, very easy role for me. They gave me a vest and some hair gel, and I just went at it. And it was a lot of fun. The movie's really great. I haven't seen like a classic family comedy like this in a while. And I know they'd be like, yeah, Derrick, you're a real company man saying this, but I mean it. I think it'll surprise some people in a good way. It's kind of like that classic comedy that we haven't seen, in like a decade. They used to make movies like this all the time.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't know. They act like, Nate's great because he's pushing against the machine. They're all going, nobody wants this anymore. And he's betting against them and going, no, I think people want family comedies every once in a while.
Right.
And so that's what he's fighting for. So, and it's fun to be on his side. So yeah, that movie's going to be great. And I have a really fun scene in it.
And you ever take a look back at like, when this has all happened, it seemed like you've been working hard at it for a long time. You said it was kind of a gradual thing. There was no big break. There was no lucky phone call or something that changed your life. But you ever look back and maybe look at yourself in the mirror and go, God damn, man, I'm pretty lucky that this is my life, because I could have been at Big Lots. I could have been maybe running been a regional manager of Big Lots, or maybe still doing some demos for Babies R Us.
Oh, yeah. That is very, very much, that is not lost on me at all, because I can remember very well being at Big Lots with my name tag on. True story, man. In the bathroom, looking in the mirror, like, hey, man, you're not going out like this. And tonight you got 4 open mics and you need to get it together, because we're not going out like this.
Right.
And I had a lot of those private conversations with myself. So now that's why you can't help it, especially as a comedian, when this is all my own stuff. I'm not part of a band. It's been me kind of grinding for 14 years. You get a chip on your shoulder. You get a little salty. Because now when I look in the mirror, I'm like, dude, you're a bad dude.
Right.
You're a bad man.
That's
because I bet
awesome.
on myself. And now I got a Netflix special, and I love that question because it fires me up.
Yeah, but it's like it's a big dream, right? You said you were a big dreamer growing up. You want to be a football player, baseball player, stand-up These are big dreams. These don't happen to most people. So, what's your advice to people that are big dreamers yet they have a little bit of apprehension to, maybe I'll get a backup plan? You got any advice to those people out there listening that are big dreamers, but maybe realists?
Yeah, I would say most of the best things I've ever done in my life were scary as hell. So you cannot go, this feels scary, this feels, tough, because it's going to feel that way. So I just tell people, all the time, you just got to do it. If you've got a dream or something you're pursuing, you just got to do it. And it's going to be scary. And you don't crunch the numbers, and don't ever have a plan B that's better than your plan A. That's why I was at Big Lots. I'm a heck of a talker. Clearly, I could have been at a pharmaceuticals company selling, whatever, and having health insurance, and I wouldn't have been worried about that open mic. But I put my feet against the fire, and I made $11 an hour, and I go, I'm either going to be funny or I'm eating ramen again tonight.
Right.
And I think that mentality makes a difference.
Anybody in your family, Derrick? Anybody funny in your family? Like, who's the funniest guy in your whole family?
It's, I heard my grandfather was really funny. But my mother has an incredible sense of humor, but she's not funny.
No.
But Stacy knows exactly what is. Like my mom had great taste in things that we watched growing up, movies she put on, stand-ups that she would put in front of me, skits. We watched Living Color and SNL in the 90s together all the time. My mother has a great sense of humor. Sometimes people don't understand this. There's people with killer sense of humor that aren't funny. She knows how to receive the humor.
Right.
She does not know how to give it, which helped me, I think, in a lot of ways. But I don't know a lot of my father's side of the family, and I would ask my mom, who am I like? Who's funny like this? Who's funny? And I remember, and I'll never forget, as a little kid, my mother eventually one time goes, Derrick, you're a lot like yourself. You're a very unique kid, and there's nobody in our family that's really like you, and you should really appreciate that. That's a really great thing. And I can remember, that made me feel good and made me understand because I'm a lot different than everybody.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
Stop. If you know what the rose is, this is for you. And if you don't, listen closer. Meet Lem by Hello Nancy. Yes, it looks like a lemon, but it's anything but innocent. Every 25 seconds, someone discovers Lem. With 500,000 customers and a 4.7 star rating, women say it's toe curling and mind-blowing. It's whisper quiet and completely discreet, so no one hears a thing and no one knows what it is. Go to HelloNancy.com for 50% off this Valentine's Day. Once you try it, you'll understand.
Celebrity Jobber.
Did mom try to discourage you from going into a world of comedy? Was there encouragement or discouragement from your family?
Oh, well, listen, I went into comedy at a terrible time in my life. You know, a lot of people would, I got over about 16 years ago, I got 2 DUIs in 6 months, and everything fell apart. And after that, I told my mother I was getting into comedy, and she cried, which she should have, because at that time you're like, you know, I got no car, I got no money, I got nothing. And I go, I'm going to get into comedy. And little did I know, that was a little bit of a hack for me, because getting into comedy after hitting rock bottom, which is not unique to just me, makes you built for comedy. You couldn't hurt my feelings at an open mic. If I bombed, I didn't go home and waller in it. I'd just gotten 2 DUIs. Who cares? Who cares about anything? So it was the perfect time for me to chase a crazy dream, actually.
I kind of think the DUIs kind of changed your life. That was the big break. You don't know it now, but that was the big break that really changed your whole life. DerrickStroup.com. That's DerrickStroup.com. He's going to be in The Breadwinner. He's his comedy specials on Netflix right now and appearing in theaters all over the country. Derrick, great story. Pleasure to have you on. Good luck to you the rest of the way.
Thank you, buddy.
You know, I know it sounds a little crazy, but I do believe that those 2 DUIs that he had 16 years ago, 6 months apart from each other, was the turning point in his life. In a really weird way, that was Derrick Stroup's big break. You know, he told his mother he was going to get into comedy after he got those 2 DUIs. She cried. Yeah, I can understand why. You're probably thinking like, oh man, I failed. This one I failed, you know, but didn't work out that way. The guy actually turned his life around, and here he is, you know, Netflix special, Nostalgia on Netflix right now. Very, very funny guy. Has a similar cadence to Nate Borghetti, doesn't he? I think so. Yeah, it had to be difficult getting discovered out of Alabama, which he says you're absolutely right. He moved to Denver and then New York. That has to be the mecca for stand-up in New York City. But interestingly enough, he talked about his first jobs. One of them was at a Babies R Us, and he was describing how he was doing baby car seat demos in the parking lot. That got me laughing a little bit. And then he said, you know, when he did get into comedy to make ends meet a little bit, he became a manager at a Big Lots, which, you know, is kind of like Kmart somewhat. There's not many Big Lots around anymore. They're kind of old school. They're kind of retro, but that's what he was doing because the schedule was flexible for him at Big Lots. So he did that while he was, you know, in comedy trying to make ends meet a little bit. He mentioned that he didn't really have a relationship with his dad maybe growing up. So single mom who he said had a sense of humor. His mom had a really great sense of humor, only for receiving the jokes. Like she knew what was funny. She just wasn't a funny person, says her son, Derrick. You know, and I always say it's not ever fair to ask a 17 or an 18-year-old kid, like, hey, what are you going to major in college? What do you want to study? And then, of course, get into the working world and do that as a profession for the rest of your life. You just don't know. You have no idea at that age. So I could tell by listening to Derrick Stroup that he was a kid with no plan and just wanted the easy education. You know, I was the same way, you know, somewhat. I was like confused. I thought I wanted to make movies. I thought I wanted to be a pro golfer. Not like on tour, but like at country clubs, which wouldn't be a bad life. Of course, then you have to deal with a lot of complaining old rich people, which really isn't my strength. But yeah, mass communications. That's what Derrick majored in at Jacksonville State University. Mass communications will get you into the world of radio. And it's famous in college for being, quote unquote, the easy major. And then Derrick mentioned he switched his major from mass comm to recreation. I've never heard of a recreation major. I don't know what that is. Sounds fun though, doesn't it? Anyway, really glad things worked out for Derrick Stroup from Harvest, Alabama. Check out his Netflix comedy special out right now called Nostalgia, and DerrickStroup.com. Tickets are on sale right now for his theater tour. See where he's coming across the country at DerrickStroup.com. Well, anyway, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. New episodes drop every Friday by 8 p.m., streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating. And of course, if you can, please leave a review. You can go back in time and check out past guests and episodes online at celebrityjobber.com. They're all up there, like 180-something episodes. Some great guests coming up in the near future, from the Rat Pack 80s teen movie star Andrew McCarthy and Randy Bachman from the bands The Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive. Really can't wait to speak with Randy. Thank you again for listening to the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. And until next week, I'll see you then. I'm Jeff Zito.
This message is brought to you by the Capital One Venture X card. Venture X offers the premium benefits you expect, like a $300 annual Capital One travel credit for less than you expect. Elevate your earn with unlimited double miles on every purchase, bringing you one step closer to your next dream destination. Plus, enjoy access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. The Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.